Don't forget, Donald Trump, just a week or two ago, fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics because the job numbers sucked. The reason jobs numbers sucked is because Donald Trump sucks. And he stepped in front of a camera and proved again that Donald Trump, sucks.
This one chart really says it better than anything. If you look at this is great. But this chart is pretty amazing right here. All new numbers. Okay?
What a fool. What an idiot. The President of the United States brought out a chart. Brand new numbers. See this line? It goes up. Numbers you haven't seen before. That's why I brought out this, this poster board like a child. Someone drew a chart for me. There you have it. Don't forget, this is the same guy who also Sharpied around hurricanes and said that that's the reasons why they're going in a different direction, because he drew a Sharpie on them.
We had actually, our original chart was that it was going to be hitting Florida directly. Maybe I could just see that, Kevin. It was going to be hitting directly, and that would have affected a lot of other states. But that was the original chart, and you see it was going to hit not only Florida, but Georgia. It could have was going toward the Gulf. That was what was originally projected, and it took a right turn.
President, you showed us a map earlier, the initial forecast of it. It appeared to have been, I guess, edited or something to include Alabama. Can you explain how that change was made?
I just know. Yeah, I know that Alabama was in the original forecast. They thought it would get it as a piece of it. It was supposed to go, actually, we have a better map than that, which is going to be presented, where we had many lines going directly, many models, each line being a model.
And he brought out those stupid tariff charts when he brought them out on April 2nd. Meant nothing as well. He keeps going down this road. I ask one more time, why do we keep listening to idiots? Blatant, obvious idiots that don't know anything they're doing, but think that they can fool people into thinking that what they're putting in front of us means anything. He also brought out Stephen Moore to say these types of things, because he's a smart guy.
I called the president because I had some very good news from some new data that we've been able to put together that no one has ever seen before, and I'll just very quickly go through these. So I was telling the president that he did the right thing in calling for a new head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, because this shows that over the last 2 years of the Biden administration, the BLS overestimated job creation by 1.5 million jobs. Mr. President, that's a gigantic error. And I don't know if she's, I'm not
making it. Might not have been an error, that's the bad part. If it was an error, it would be one thing. I don't think it's an error. I think they did it purposely.
Whether that, you may well be right, but even if it wasn't purposefully, it's incompetence.
Right.
Okay, so 1.5 million jobs overestimated. We have access to the some data that no one else does.
We have access to new data that no one's ever seen before, because we just made this shit up this morning when we put up these numbers and these charts on these poster boards. But of course, let's go back to the Biden administration again and talk about how they overinflated those numbers. It was a good job that you fired the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Mr. President. We've got these new numbers. Did you see him look at that second chart? Wait, and he goes, these new numbers. I don't know what the hell these are. I guess I'll just keep talking because I don't know what the hell I'm doing anyway, outside of just carrying water and expecting everyone to believe this nonsense. Don't forget, that was Stephen Moore who he brought out here. And this is Stephen Moore on the day that Maria Bartiromo on Fox Business was talking about those very disappointing July job numbers.
The NASDAQ down about 200 going... 73,000 jobs. 73,000 jobs created in the month of July. Number just coming out.
And that's total.
4.2% is the unemployment rate, right in line with expectations. Here are the numbers. For the month of July, jobs came in at 73,000. That was lower than the expectation, which called for 110,000 jobs. The unemployment rate right in step with expectations at 4.2%. Steve Moore, your reaction.
Look, I think this is all a result, this disappointing number is a result of all the turmoil over tariffs and the trade wars.
All these disappointing numbers on the day of the actual job numbers coming out for July are all a result of Donald Trump's disappointing and disastrous trade wars and tariffs. Same Stephen Moore, who just came out and said, we've got brand new numbers that no one's ever seen before. Matter of fact, here they are. But on the day that those numbers we were told were real, I'm sorry, when they sucked and Donald Trump hadn't thrown his temper tantrum yet, no burgers had flown against the wall yet, it sucked because of Donald Trump's plans and his agenda. It's right there in front of us to understand how these people get told by the baby in chief, you guys need to change this for me. So they changed it for him. And he walked out there and showed his face as if no one would think and remember that he was dogging his ass out just a week and a half ago. This is a piece from Common Dreams. Let me give you guys a couple of quotes. Common Dreams is an independent journalistic organization that isn't paid for by big money from billionaires and like people, the Koch brothers, which we'll get into in these quotes in a second. And this is from 2019 when Stephen Moore was nominated by Donald Trump to be on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, right? This is what they had to say about who he really is and his background. Paul Krugman and many others have called Stephen Moore a liar. The UC Berkeley economics professor and influential blogger Brad DeLong notes that Stephen Moore has zero credibility. The editorial page director at the Kansas City Star announced that she won't be running anything else from Stephen Moore after she discovered, quote, substantial factual errors in two of Moore's columns. Jonathan Chait, a recent New York Magazine piece, calls Moore a famous idiot and notes correctly that Stephen Moore's career as an economic analyst has been a decades-long continuous procession of error and hackery. That's Stephen Moore. Hey, there's more about who Stephen Moore is. Moore has a master's degree in economics from George Mason University, a libertarian outpost that has been lavishly funded by the Koch brothers, those billionaires that control political direction. They've been doing it for decades. Moore has spent his career with a long list of well-funded libertarian think tanks, including 2 stints with the Heritage Foundation and a decade with the Cato Institute, a libertarian lie factory founded by the Charles Koch Foundation in 1974. Moore is a founder with the infamous supply-sider Arthur Laffer of the Club for Growth, another fact-free think tank promoting the Koch agenda. John Nichols of the Nation writes that the Club for Growth is, quote, an organization funded by extremely wealthy conservatives to carry out their budget-stripping goals. Hold on for a second. I pointed out in the middle of that there as one of his stints is with the Heritage Foundation. The Heritage Foundation is the group that was a part of authoring Project 2025. The thing of which I think I saw in headline that they've implemented about 40 to 45% of that Project 2025 that Donald Trump didn't know anything about when he was running for president in this last stint here. He didn't know anything about it, but damn near 50% of it has been implemented in the first few months in office. Weird how that is, and that Stephen Moore is a part of that as well. Last thing on Stephen Moore from this Common Dreams article. Stephen Moore has spent nearly 40 years promoting and defending tax cuts for corporations and the rich, deregulation as well. He was an avid promoter of Kansas City Governor Sam Brownback's disastrous supply-side tax cuts. Moore insists that right-to-work laws protect workers. He blames the financial crash of 2008 on, get this, an excessive bank regulation. Moore is also an aggressive and shameless climate denier. You won't be surprised by that either, because he works for and says everything in favor of trying to promote the richest people in the world and our country specifically to make more money off of our backs while blaming us for it. That's who Stephen Moore is, the guy who walked out there and originally had some kind of actual real thing to say about what's going on with these job numbers and then flipped. I started cussing when I'm trying not to, but he flipped like a flip-flopper would. Let's put it that way. When Donald Trump told him to jump, he jumped.